Hello all! This week I wanted rainbows and hope, so I'm weaving up a rainbow merino blend warp and a lambswool weft, and honestly, kvetching a little bit about how CPTSD makes chronic pain and chronic illness flares take longer, and how some people need to learn what no contact actually means. I hope you enjoy. Look, it's been a week. My name is Took. I'm a disabled genderqueer weaver who's had life take odd turns, but who knows that even tattered and worn yarn still has value, and that tired joints and health flares don't have to stop the journey. I weave exclusively with secondhand fibers, aided with adaptive warping, HR and OSHA cats, and a wonderful found family. Welcome to Hawksong Weaving, where all our paths are a little bit warped. First, a bit of an explanation on why I've developed this adaptive warping method. I have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which has cascaded into postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. So for time's sake, know that I have joints that don't work, and if I shift positions too quickly, I get pre-syncope or pre-fainting symptoms. All of this comes with chronic pain, so for a lot of reasons, a traditional warping board doesn't work for me, along with being really expensive and taking up a lot of space in my small studio. So I use an accordion coat rack as my warping board. It's nice and neat, it contracts into a smaller space, and I can adjust it as I need to. And I don't need to be up and down and all around and having tachycardia, a racing heart, that stresses out my medical alert cat, Penelope Calico. For new folks to the channel, there are 3 cats that take care of the humans of my household. Penelope Calico handles alerting for physical stressors, for dysautonomia and autistic overstimulation and stress. Hades Himbo handles weighted pressure and supervises listening to emotional processing music. And Belith the Bull provides distractions during panic attacks and CPTSD flares by parking herself in front of us and guarding against danger. Between the 3 of them, I and my partners, referred to on this channel as fencing opera singer partner and goth IT engineer partner, are very well cared for. For anyone who's curious, this loom is a 15-inch wide shocked cricket loom. It's a rigid heddle loom, and I love it so much. It's birch, it's very sturdy, it can take a beating, but it's light enough that I can lift it even when I'm having a pain or fatigue day. It's also one of the cheapest looms in the market, averaging around $250 at the time of filming. Skipping ahead a bit so this video doesn't drag, but for reference, that process took about 25 minutes because of all the colorway changes. If you're trying out this method and it takes longer, please don't worry. I've been doing this process daily for going on 4 years, and I've got the muscle memory down. With the warp threads sorted, I'm lifting up the loom to release the warping board from the loom, gathering the warp threads into one large bundle, and using the back of my neck to drape them and keep them out of the way while I collapse the warping board and get the terry cloth towels in place. I use terry cloth towels to cushion the warp threads. This helps prevent the finished weaving from being tighter at the ends and looser in the middle, creating a sort of sausage profile in the weaving. They also have more grip than the traditional cardstock or parchment paper, which I find difficult to use because it slips and makes overstimulating crinkle noises. Every other week or so, I'll wash and dry the terry cloth towels, as the pressure from how tight I prefer my warp to be tends to flatten them over time. So a wash to refluff them is needed. Due to experience and experimentation, I know that I'm going to get a 7-foot long piece of fabric from the particular way that I warped the accordion coat rack, but I can get up to 10 feet if I really want to. But for a Hawksong weaving scarf, 7 feet is just that sweet spot. Once the warp is wound, I'm cutting the ends of the warp loops, getting it all one length, and then threading the rigid heddle reed. If the terry cloth towels need to be refluffed, I'll make sure to tug the middle of the warp down to make it more even and to further prevent sausaging. The scrap yarn will get used for stuffing for other products, like the scrappy scented sachets or throw pillows that keep everything at Hawksong Weaving zero waste. Now time to warp the eyes of the rigid heddle reed. This isn't a great angle, but I'm being careful to pay attention to how the warp threads are laying on the back bar of the loom, with the right hand thread going through the eye of the rigid heddle reed. This isn't absolutely critical, and some mistakes are alright, but it does help to keep the tension of the warp even across the entire weaving. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you'd like to support my work, some free ways to do that are to like and subscribe or share. This applies to other small artists as well, letting the social media algorithms know that this is content worth being seen. If you'd like to support me financially, there's a Buy Me a Coffee linked below, which acts as sort of a tip jar. You can also join the YouTube memberships, which gets you access to videos as soon as I post them, as opposed to the parallel wrestling videos on Tuesdays, and project or unboxing videos on Fridays. Everyone gets the shorts at the same time because I need that dopamine hit. There are also hand-woven products from the online Hawksong Weaving shop available down below in case you're not local to Western Massachusetts. If you are local to Western Mass, please check out the weaving equipment rental options available on my website linked below. Looms and weaving equipment are prohibitively expensive, so I'm hoping by renting it out at affordable rates, I'll get more people into this dying craft. Although, to be fully honest, at this point, given that no one has shown actual interest in this, I'm going to be contacting the local public library to see if they want to add these looms to their lending library, just because it's one of those situations where if a deal is too good, people assume it's a scam, and I'm not clever enough to run those, but people don't know that necessarily. This next bit is absolutely a joke, but YouTube wouldn't let me set it as a joke membership tier, but just in case in this economy, I won't say no. For $1,000 a month, you can tell me that I'm not actually disabled, I'm just lazy, and to try whatever snake oil, turmeric juice, cleanse, yoga nonsense fixed your cousin. Feel free to message me and I'll get you my payment details. More likely, if you want to donate yarn, sewing donations, or even tea and stickers or the like, please find my P.O Box listed down below. Skipping ahead again a little bit and attaching the warp thread to the apron bar of the loom. This is pretty easy. I eye the fringe length that I want, separate the warp threads into about 4 to 5 threads across, and split it down the middle doing a half hitch tie to the apron bar. I start at the center rather than on the sides because I find that easier when balancing the apron bar rather than it being tilted and wobbly and going everywhere but where I want it. Once that's sorted, I'm adding the second terry cloth towel. This isn't strictly necessary, but does help in not creating a lumpy mess at the bottom of the weaving where the knots from the tie-off press into the woven fabric. Because I prefer to weave at a pretty high tension, I'm going to tighten the warp even further. If you have hypermobile fingertips, please brace them internally or externally via braces, as bending them backwards will add the crunchiness of arthritis to your hypermobility, and nobody wants that. And now for the actual weaving. I've got some tips and tricks for getting even selvages, which is what the edges of the weaving are called. When you're first learning to weave, practice these consciously for the first 10 to 15 minutes of your weaving. This will help develop the muscle memory you need to do this quickly and automatically. The shuttle goes through and the weft gets pulled at a 45-degree angle while pinching at the point of the corner of the selvage. This allows the weft to have enough space to settle into the warp and create a tight turn at the selvage. In order to keep this 45-degree angle on the narrow space of a rigid heddle loom, you're going to have to wind down your weaving on a fairly regular interval. Selvages are one of the things I'm complimented on most by other weavers at art and farmers markets, so these methods do absolutely work. Now tying off the fringes. For a finished project with fringes, I prefer to do a 2x2 warp, then tied into a fringe of 4. But if I run out of warp threads, I'll do a 3x3 fringe at the very end. In this case, because I've got these rainbows marked, I don't need to do that 3x3. But it's just so much fun to tie off the finished project, or like the almost finished project. It's so satisfying. It's like the best dopamine hit ever. Skipping ahead a bit again and now unveiling the full weaving. It turned out so wonderfully. I'm so pleased with the merino warp and the lambswool weft. The lambswool was from Australia. I got it from the free bin at Swanson's Stash House, and the merino warp is from so many different places. I haven't been keeping track, but I'm just so pleased just on this first glimpse of how this scarf turned out. I really just needed a simple, quiet little project to get through this week. I've been having some bad CPTSD flares from an abuser reaching out to me via the Hawksong Weaving, and I'll be honest, it makes me feel a little dirty and gross to realize that they've been watching my content and gathering, like, solace and comfort from it, because, ew, gross. No, please, just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. Yeah. But getting this tied off and, at this point, CPTSD is something I handle pretty easily at this point. Like, it's just one more chronic set of symptoms. It's like, all right, cool, my brain is feeling agoraphobic, or okay, cool, my brain is gonna make me extra fawny, or like trying to appease everyone around me and make sure that everyone around me is happy, even if they don't want to be happy right now, or if they are validly going through things, or just it's so annoying. At this point, it's just becoming a daily annoyance, and I'm very, very proud of myself for how far I've come in dealing with it, but also I'm a little existentially tired of being really good at dealing with this nonsense, and I'd really just like it to not keep happening. But chronic illness is going to chronic illness, whether that's physical or mental, and the best we can do is keep moving forward. I count my lucky stars every single day for having landed with two incredible people and a community that gets it and understands the fact that I'm not going to be penalized for missing tomorrow on the when this video comes out, for missing tomorrow's market at the Great Falls Farmers Market in Turners Falls, because the market manager just gets it. And I'm incredibly privileged to be able to take the time to fully rest and recover after a CPTSD flare and how it makes my physical health so much worse. I won't speak for others, but for me, just the physical sensations and responses to CPTSD, the involuntary clenching of muscles, the hypervigilance, the adrenaline dumps, it all piles up and adds on to my chronic illnesses and just makes the recovery time that much slower and the symptoms that much worse, which is why, if you're still watching this, even though I've told you that it makes me feel gross that you are, I don't accept your apology. I don't want you in my life. If you actually cared, you would stay away, because I've told you so many times what your presence in my life does to my body and mind. And if your apology was for anyone but making yourself feel better, you wouldn't have sent it. I fundamentally do not understand people who feel so entitled to another person's attention or just access to that person in general, especially when you've been told multiple times that your presence causes nothing but pain, both physically and mentally. I cannot imagine wanting to put someone through additional mental or physical pain just to get my last say in. But enough of that. We have a very pretty rainbow scarf at the end of the day, and that is something to celebrate, because these are bits and bobs of yarn that would have ended up in the landfill or, tattered and worn. And just because they're tattered and worn doesn't mean they don't have value. Just because you're tattered and worn doesn't mean you don't have value. And, as long as you're just be kind to each other as best you can. You don't necessarily know what someone else is going through. And a little bit of empathy is just, it helps the world go around and be a better place. And I genuinely believe that it has ripple effects, and that a kindness shared is a kindness doubled, quadrupled, quintupled throughout the world. First, I'm trimming and tying this, eyeballing the length that I want for the trim, and using the don't ask me how much I spent on these good shears, and then I will steam block this. Steam blocking allows the wool fibers to relax into each other, sort of like how a hot shower will help unknot your back. I have to be careful with how much steam I'm around because of the genetic collagen disorder. High humidity does the same thing to my muscles, and I kind of need them tight to hold my bones in place. So in this case, tying off the scarf fringes and steam blocking another day, just because it's raining and blecky outside. But just, yeah, this is going to be so much of a better shot once I get my, full arm tattoos, which I'm going to be doing, sort of piecemeal over time. I've got my ideas for my full, floral fauna, full sleeves, just because, look, If you've got a high pain tolerance and really pale skin and your skin takes ink really well, why not cover yourself in tattoos? It's one of the only things that I've found I actually have autonomy over when it comes to my body, so I might as well indulge. And would you look at this? I'm so incredibly pleased with how this turned out. I needed a rainbow and I needed just some clean, fresh just hope and just the pop of the colors with the white of the weft and just it's not the softest thing, but it's soft enough. And honestly, soft enough is the best we can hope for sometimes. I'm so glad for the odd turn that your path took that brought you here. Thank you for spending time with me at Hawksong Weaving, where we're all a bit warped and no fiber gets left behind. I hope that you have a truly wonderful week, weekend, whenever it is that you're watching this. And I will see you next time.